When it comes to recession and recessionary times and thinking about how the economy will be, a lot of small businesses are scared. They don't know what to do. Today, I want to talk about value and what are some of the ways for your business to preserve those revenue levels, to preserve your clientele, despite economic trends changing and consumer habits changing. Again, we made a video on what to do when you're facing with reduction of revenue coming from consumer spending habits changing, whether it's a recession, whether it's just a fear of recession, whether it's layoffs, and you have a scenario where you just adjusted your prices for inflation, but suddenly your monthly revenue is going down and you couldn't avoid it. So those were some of the ways that you can alleviate some of the financial pressure. Now, we're going to flip that and say, what can you do to avoid that reduction of revenue from happening? Preserving your clientele, making the same money as you made before, despite recession or fear of recession. These are industry best practices, things that worked in the past, not necessarily applies to all industries. Again, you're the industry expert, you know your industry, your business, your community, your clientele more. So it's the decisions that should come from you. But I hope that these help you just make a more educated decision. Just be aware of some of the ways that other businesses have done in the past that have been successful, and some of them might be a little bit more industry specific, and we'll talk about it, but hopefully it'll be a good guideline. So what I want to talk about is the concept of value, and that is something that with large enterprise, it's a big topic of discussion. And I think for small businesses, business owners know it, they do it, they actively offer it to their customers, but it's good to just open it up, analyze it a little bit. So it might be a little bit more philosophical, depending on industry, maybe less so in retail and hospitality, especially retail. When there's a store that has goods that someone wants to buy, they go in there. To other side of the extreme, which is like veterinarian, healthcare, dentistry, where there is a relationship between the customer and the business owner. There is a lot of quote unquote value that is being offered, and there may be closer to that. So when it comes to these two extremes, one side, when it comes to retail and hospitality, as recession comes in, as consumer spending habits change, they might want to go to those, which is like, oh, if I eat out a lot, I can't eat out as much. Maybe I go there less, or I just don't eat out at all. I'll eat at home, or I don't need to buy all this stuff. I won't go to this store, or this service. Like, do I really need it? Do I really need massage? Do I really need this? Maybe I can change that, especially when, unfortunately, and it's just very nightmarish when someone's laid off. Unfortunately, immediately all they have to do is adjust their spending habit. So it's kind of a tough, and I wish it on no one. It's just terrible, but usually, unfortunately, that happens. A lot of us may have faced that. So is that the consumers change their habit like this, and usually they go to services that might not have as much value to them. So value is really important, and I think that we all know it, we all do it. I think it's just beneath everything that we do, we want to offer value to our customers. A retail store's value proposition might be high but limited. Is that, hey, it just has goods that I need. Restaurants' value proposition, or the limit they can offer value, is more, hey, I feel good every Saturday. I go to this diner, or go to this restaurant, or go to this breakfast place or coffee shop. It just feels good to me. I like the owner, and they give a good service for me. I like what they offer. The atmosphere is nice. The vibe is good. So now you see, you can offer more value. That place has more value, all the way to like a vet practice. You love your pets, we all do. We love our pets. A nice vet can have a good relationship with the customers. If they love your pet, they take care of them, they care about them, they provide good care for them, give you new ideas to keep them healthy. You really feel safe with them, you really feel secure with them, you trust them. There is a really strong relationship there between you and your vet. So look at the value they can give you. And that value is such a good shield for you to break it, even if you're facing financial hurdles, because you love your pet, because you really trust this vet. Even though if the prices get adjusted, if you feel like it's hurting your wallet a little bit, you still want to go there. You still want to go to them as the primary provider for your pets. Why? Because there's a lot of value there. And I think that value, the intrinsic value of that vet being there, is not only great top of the line healthcare for your pet, but it's also that care, that peace of mind, that safety that you associate that place with. So compare it to a retail store, you see how different that is. Another one that is kind of like a regular places for many folks is like dentistry. If you really built a relation with your dentist, if you feel like they provide you good service, your oral health is really important to them, and it's been seamless, it's really good. You don't want to make that switch. Even though when financials get tough, you want to make sure that there's some businesses that you stay with. And we all can do that. If you draw a circle and say, if financials get tough, if you want to change your spending habit, reduce costs, what do you do? Usually every individual is different, but they usually include the things that are high value to them in that circle. Again, I know it's very popular to say, hey, don't eat out, don't do this, don't buy the things you don't need to buy, which is good advice for personal finance. But when it comes to a business, it usually comes down to value, how much value you provide for your customers. Now, the value can change. The value can be different from person to person, but as a business, you have a good understanding of what your value to your customers are, what your value to the community is. Now, we know that when it comes to some industries, we call them recession-proof because there's going to be always a demand for no matter what, but it's also that it's a mix of both, or is it that they provide a lot of value? So either you can avoid it, but it also provides you a lot of value, or it has a lot of value too. For example, healthcare, you can't avoid it. Unfortunately, I hope it never happens to you, but if you need healthcare, you need to go. You need to go to your doctor, you need to go to ER, you need to go to the hospital. So there's always demand for that. So no matter what the situation is, folks need healthcare and they have to go. It also could be sometimes that you trust your doctor, you have a really good relationship for them, and you want to go to them. And I know it's tricky and it's kind of harder with insurance and all the limitations, but usually there's always a need for it, but you can have a lot of value. That compared to something like your local coffee shop, where no matter what happens to you, you want to have that coffee there once in a while. You want to be there, you want to eat there at that restaurant, or you want to be with your nail tech, or you want to really be with your massage place. They provide a lot of value to you. Again, do you have to go to this nail tech? Do you have to get your nails done? Not necessarily, but you do, because in your opinion, there's a lot of value. Well, whatever that business did to create that much value to you, that's what keeps them from losing you. Now, with all that being said, and I know it's more philosophical and just open to interpretation and your personal opinion, you might have a different opinion of how your behaviors change. I'm not a psychologist, unfortunately. I don't know human behavior too well, so that's something that you want to analyze more if you wish to do so. But generally, my point is that when it comes to recessionary times, meaning flow of capital slowing down, capital is costing more, there is more layoffs, there's a lot of scary outcomes that might come around. And again, that might not just be economic activity is going down significantly. You have like negative GDP growth, and I think as we did for Q1 and Q2 of 2022, there's a lot of fear. And when it comes to that, we know businesses that are quote unquote recession proof, whether there's always a demand for them no matter what, or is that they provide so much value just by their industry, or they have higher opportunity to provide value, are going to be okay. What I mean is if they have a high value, which is like healthcare and some certain like utility services, your internet provider, versus businesses that have the opportunity, like your local veterinarian practice, your local dentistry practice, businesses that by default, those industries have a lot of value to. Your utility company has a lot of value to. Chances are they're the only company that can provide you electricity or gas, as opposed to industries that have a little bit lower opportunities or much lower opportunities to provide you with value, like local retail stores, mom and pop retail stores, consignment stores, restaurants, bars, breakfast places. And they're usually more local, meaning mom and pop. They're not like chain stores or big corporations. Those companies have their own cost optimization, have more opportunity to adjust themselves financially, as opposed to maybe mom and pop shops or brick and mortar stores, local restaurants, as opposed to chain restaurants. They're more susceptible to economic changes. The flip side of that is that they are having a much more limited opportunity for value. So the question becomes, how do those industries provide value? Well, a veterinarian, because you love your pets, there's an emotional connection, they have so much opportunity. If they do the right things, if they really care for your pet, if they provide a good service, they can increase their values to the max for any consumer. What about a restaurant? What about a retail store? And again, there's something more, maybe it could be emotional, like your pet, Value can be service, value can be pricing, value can be flexibility, value can be saving time for you, value can be giving you goods and services that you can't get anywhere else. Value is you always make sure you get the best service. The value is also some of the intangible assets we talked about, especially goodwill with the community. That's value too. That's why it's in your asset section of the balance sheet, because goodwill is really important, because goodwill is correlated and tied into you keeping a clientele because you have that relationship with your community. So for example, and again, not to say these ideas work for everyone, they might not work, but for example, if you have a mom and pop retail store that sells a convenience store, it sells like decorative stuff, or sells like novelties, isn't like a novelty store that sells souvenirs and things like that. Their business has a limited value. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit less tourist activity, locals are not buying it as much, so they're like, okay, we're losing our clientele, what do we do? And again, usually some of these stores I've seen, again, this is just what I've seen working with a lot of small business owners, that they offer like more everyday stuff. They're just basically kind of hybrid, or moving to more convenience store, milk, bread, food items, grocery items, things like that. So now more people can come in, look around, hey, I can grab a milk, things like that. Or some stores that would be convenience stores, they offer hot food, or they invest in a food truck right across the street. Something I've seen work very well is that some communities like breweries start coming in. Some breweries generally are mostly focusing themselves on their beer that they make. Now, that's limited use case. They might lose a lot of customers that say, do we really need to go to this place? Because yeah, the beer is nice, I love them, but like I'm hungry, I need to eat something. I'd rather go to like, I don't know, Applebee's or something. But this is a problem. So what a lot of those business owners learn is that, hey, why don't we do this? To preserve our image, to preserve the branding, the brewery still has to only offer beers, maybe cold beers, cold wines, things like that. How about this? We buy a food truck, we put it across the street, and we have everything set up so people can come in, and it's ours. We offer food, we offer different types of food over there, so they can get the beer here, get the food over there. Well, best of both worlds. So when you have these times that folks are hungry, but they like to drink a beer too, they can go to this place now because they offer food as well. You see, they increase their value. They increase their value proposition by offering other products that people need. It's very smart, because generally a lot of businesses like to expand on the same things they offer, which is a good way. We'll talk about it. But this was very good. You preserve your branding, you preserve your image, what a brewery should be, which I'm not very well versed in, but you also buy a food truck and put it across in a parking lot, so you have different options, and it's a really good business, and you have this kind of community based way that locals come in and do well. One other thing that it was very interesting to me was a coffee shop, for example. That was a very local coffee shop, very local, very like industrial looking coffee shop, which was nice. They made really nice espressos and lattes and things like that. And to compete with like Starbucks of the world, they went on the app that is coffee shops can partner with, and it has a royalty like Starbucks. So if you go on this app, you have opportunity to get on order from different coffee shops and get rewards from them. So it's kind of it's a nice app that is all inclusive, but also at the same time they offer something that says if you bring your own mug from home, coffee's half off, or you get double rewards or something like that. So every morning you have, like before work or during the weekend, you have everyone bringing their own mugs. There's a long line because they like the idea. It's just something nice to them. It's their neighborhood coffee shop has the reward program that they can get the same way as they do in Starbucks, but also the industrial looking is nice. There's outside seating, and if they bring their own mug, they can get coffee half off or double the rewards. Again, financially, is it that much different to them? No, but it's a lot of value. Like I love my Saturday mornings to be like that. So a lot of folks go to that business more like that. So when it comes to recessionary times where you might be in risk of losing your clientele, you want to make sure that you offer that value. Again, it's tough. It's up to you. It's your industry. You're the expert. My focus has been on retail, vet, bridal, limited number of industries, hospitality mostly. So I don't know necessarily how it work with some other industries. For example, services. B2B. Again, the value is always there. It's just for you to understand how you can increase value for your customers. And value doesn't necessarily mean money. Sometimes, yes, saving money for the customers, saving money, charging less, things like that help. But competing on pricing alone is a really dangerous thing. We know that. Competing on pricing alone is that you win on pricing, but you also lose on pricing. And sometimes if you have to only win on pricing, then when it comes to recessionary times, when you have to increase your prices, where you're forced to adjust your prices, you lose. So value is really important. Personally, I like to go to businesses that I care about. They provide me services or products that I really like, and there's a good feeling associated with it. Maybe I'm more of an emotional buyer. Maybe I'm an emotional person. So I care about being comfortable, being cared for, someone who listens to me in terms of like if it's healthcare or things like that, if there's attention given. So some buyers only focus on price. But if you have this mix of different values you offer to your customers, I think that can help you even tap into a new customer base that you've never done before. So I think value is really important. So if you have a fear of recession, again, as you're doing things, more methodical, financial, practical things that were discussed before in the video about keeping a lower inventory, cost optimization, negotiating with your vendors or suppliers or changing them, those are more foolproof, more methodical, financially backed, consulting-esque type things you can do versus something like this, which is more of an idea. There's a thought of value. How can you increase value to your customers? So when it comes to them looking at their spending habits, trying to optimize their own personal cost, whether they are just fearful of a recession, they're fearful they might lose their job, they're fearful their cash flow is going to be tougher, versus if they unfortunately, are under some sort of financial hardship, especially can happen when there's still high inflation, plus there's the fear of recession. You want to be the type of business they're not thinking about moving on from. You want to provide as much value to them that they feel that no matter what happens, they can always be there. There's always a threshold. Obviously, at some point, no matter how much value you give, it's not up to you. But I think when it comes to 2023, with your planning, think about that. It's a good thought exercise. Again, it's not always going to work for your business necessarily. Some of the examples that I've seen are really nice. Food, retail stores offering food, for example, some hospitality, some restaurants and bars redecorating or changing the vibe, or having a better image to themselves, or offering maybe lower cost options, or providing other services like a restaurant that offers liquor or a bar that offers food. Those kind of values, all the way to more like intrinsic value, those values that are more tied to someone's emotions personally, like the coffee shop example I made. Again, be creative about your business. Your business, your clients better, your customers better. How can you add value to them in 2023 in whatever you feel it's appropriate, whatever way you feel it's the best way? It's a good thought about that. Again, as you're thinking about financials and expansion, or can I make cash flow, just also think about how you can improve your customer experience, how you can make them feel better. Again, this is more emotional value, but also how you can overall offer more value to them than before so they don't leave. Being mindful of where you are in this scale. Are you here where there's maybe a lower or a less opportunity for you to offer value, versus somewhere like here where there's a lot more opportunity for you to provide value? And how can you max it out to make sure that you keep your customers? And this paired up with some of the more methodical cost optimization or business efficiency increases that you do can help not only have your business survive, but also be successful. Thank you so much for watching. I think this was more of a kind of, to me at least, it was a philosophical discussion, just a nice way to think about your business. Again, I think that there's a lot of things to consider for small business owners, and they're really busy. They usually are involved with their business, they manage their business. So it's good to sometimes reflect on value and also see that what type of value do I offer to my customers? How can I increase that? I think that alone can be really beneficial to your business. I've seen it and I'm seeing it. A lot of business owners who don't do it, they suffer, but some who do and think about ways to provide value to their customers, they're very successful. So I'm really happy for them, and I hope that you at least consider it, and always trust your own judgment. You're the expert. You know your business, you know your industry, so hopefully this can help you just think about it a little bit. If you're interested in small business lending, if you have 2023 plans and you want to know how to make life easier by applying for the right business lending vehicle, and also what to consider when applying and what underwriters are looking for, you can watch these two videos here. First is about choosing the right lending vehicle. Second is about preparing for the underwriting. It sounds very scary, but it's not. It's very easy. Just follow those guidelines, your revenues, expenses, cash flows, credit, and you'll be okay. I hope you the best for this year, 2023. Hopefully it's an exciting year for your business. And until then, keep learning.